Hang on a minute.
That's
From
good.
the from the champions to the not quite champions, could have been champions, should have been champions. They were champions, and well, they might still be champions depending what happens with the rest of the season.
Uh,
But you might have seen our Liverpool video a couple of days ago. If you didn't, why didn't you? But today we're going to talk about the team just below them in the league. I say just, they're quite far below them, are they? Manchester City, where we talk about their season and a few of their players. Gonzo, domestically in the
mm.
league, not a great year for them.
Not by their own lofty standards. I've got a feeling, I've got a vibe that Pep is not very happy.
Oh, I get that too.
Um, it's quite funny actually because he was like a breath of fresh air when he came in, and you know the whole thing when you saw him giving Redmond a pep talk. Do you remember at Southampton?
Yeah,
And he didn't say anything at the time, Redmond, and afterwards he came out and told the story, a year or so afterwards. And Redmond said he came up to me and said, "Come on, why are you playing like that? You're one of the best players. You're really technical. I think you're a really, really good player. You should be
yeah.
dribbling and going for it." And I think that's a really encouraging thing to see, and it smacks of somebody that was in love with the game of football. But maybe Pep just gets bored easily, which is why he's got a finite limit at each club. Say a short amount of time, enough time to win lots at Barcelona, enough time to win a bit at Bayern Munich. It came in, won the title at Man City, and whilst Man City are happy to have titles, Gio, really, I felt he was brought in at Man City to win the Champions League. Well, I think he was at Bayern Munich as well, funny enough, which he didn't do. And you just wonder, with the dominance that Liverpool have had, added to the fact that he is that they probably knew that was coming, that FIFA, that UEFA fine, and all the rest of it,
Yeah.
that trouble. One, you can feel that he's. I wouldn't even say a man under strain. It's not like he's been stressed, but just a man that's fed up and would rather not be there. I don't want to be in the press conferences. You can tell that, plain and simply, mate.
I don't think he likes VAR, to be honest with you. I think I'm not saying he feels a conspiracy against Man City, but every time there's a VAR in these games, even when it goes in his favour, he looks like a man that thinks, "What is this?" But then you have to remember, this is a guy who played football at the highest level throughout his career without any VAR. So this is probably against what he believes in terms of the beautiful game as such. And I think it's sort of him compromising on something he doesn't necessarily agree with, and I think it's getting to him as well. And in terms of the league only, I don't think they've had a good enough season. I think this is going to sound mental. I feel like they've lost a bit of the fear factor, certainly towards the end of the season, because I remember getting beat by them on the opening day, and I remember thinking, whatever, it's Man City, they're world class and all that. But when we went up there just before this all happened, we turned up and let them beat us. And they probably would have beat us if we went toe to toe anyway. But the point is, we didn't even have a goal, didn't even have a shot on target. And I was disappointed. And the reason I was disappointed is because I felt like you can have a go at City these days. I know it's earlier on in the season, but you saw Norwich beat them at Carrow Road and stuff. But you don't get that vibe with Liverpool. But you get it with Man City a little bit. You think if you get at them, you might get something. And I think that's possibly why they're a bit behind Liverpool. I think teams are willing to have a go at City more than they are willing to have a go at Liverpool. I think, which I don't know why, because on paper I'd argue that City's team is just as perhaps even stronger. Um, but I don't know. I also don't see Pep doing enough game changing substitutions either. In some games, you look at his bench, he's got world class talent there, but he doesn't impact games enough for me. However, not all a disaster though. They're still in the Champions League. Big win away to Real Madrid. It's the competition they are going after. They've won the League Cup as well. They're still in the FA Cup. So in theory, they could still have an excellent season overall.
Well, and so they should really, because City fans will always say and point to other clubs that have spent more than them. When I say more than them, I mean the big money, the 86 million for Pogba, the whatever it was for Neymar, whatever, 150 million, 200 million, whatever it was. And they will point out and say, well, we don't spend that. They almost indicate that they're frugal and they're thrifty, and you know we don't spend any more than 50, 60 million on a player. That sounds ridiculous, of course, I know. But so they should. When you have a team as good as they did to win that title, and then you go and add Riyad Mahrez to it, basically the best player from a team that had won the league a couple of seasons before, and a magical player as well. And then you can go and buy a Cancelo, who is a fantastic right back from Juventus, may I add. You could go and buy these sorts of players.
Rodri from Atletico.
Oh, absolutely. Who was, you know, the stars of other teams. It doesn't really matter whether you're not spending 100 million. You know, you're paying them a lot of wages. You're getting the very best players in, so they should be contesting it. I do believe that Pep Guardiola is one of the top 3 managers in the world or whatever. I think there's no doubt about that. I love his ethos and I love his philosophy. I don't always admire the football, as I've said. And when I say that, that's just me being harsh. It depends what players are playing. And I think my chosen Manchester City team would probably be a little bit different to what Pep's would, but he's got the players there, and they should be contesting the Champions League. They should win it. I feel that for all the money, I've bought a lot of fullbacks since Guardiola's been there. A lot of fullbacks, spent a lot of money on fullbacks. For all that, I still find them a little bit weak at left back. Zinchenko was shoehorned in there. Unconvinced by Mendy. I think they're a lot stronger at right back with who I mentioned earlier, Cancelo, and they got a Kyle Walker there. And I also find it to spend all that money and then the excuse. I'm not even sure how much City use the excuse. Maybe everybody else does on their behalf. Oh, it's is it, what's the geezer's name? Laporte. What's the geezer's the centre back?
Otamendi, Laporte.
No, Laporte. It's a case of Laporte's injured. That explains why Otamendi's not good enough. Stone's not good enough. Well, Stone's is 50 million quid. There goes that figure again. He should be good enough. And if you haven't purchased him, then you know what could you say? If you purchased him and he's not good enough, then that's nobody's fault. But they've got the players there, Gio. They really have. I sometimes look at some of the other clubs, the top clubs, the Real Madrid and stuff like that, and I think, okay, they've got a very good, maybe not 11, maybe more than that. Got a very good 14 or 15 players, and then there's a drop off there because they invest so much in the Galacticos. I think City have got an outstanding 25 players, and probably a few that can't get into the squad. Probably a few that are under 21s or whatever, who aren't even classed as being in the 25 as well. They've probably got the best squad in the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, but I do. Back to the original point, if they win the Champions League, I think this season's been a fantastic success. I think if you offered City fans at the start of the season Champions League and League Cup, I think they would have taken it. Maybe not. They might have thought, well, hang on, we want the league as well. But I do think it's what they've got to aim for. It's always going to be hovering above City's head. Until they win it, it's always going to be used as a stick to beat them with. And Pep, it's always going to be, but you've not won the Champions League yet. And until they get that title, it's... Do you know that joke? FIFA completed it, mate. Until they win the Champions League, Man City cannot go, football completed it, mate. Yeah. But as soon as they've won it, that's when they can turn around and say completed football. Back to your point about the squad, I don't think they're balanced. I think that's the thing. I think when you're playing, you spend all this money, you have all these players, then you're playing Fernandinho at centre back. I think there's an issue. I think you've gone wrong somewhere. And it's just ridiculous to have Raheem Sterling and all that, but then your team falls down because you've got a guy playing out of position who's 34 years old in centre back. And I think, how can you be so? It's almost like you're blind. You're so determined to have all this attacking flair and all this sexy football and all this passing stuff. You forget about the people. They've got to keep it out at the other end. It's just the compromise for my liking. And the big, if you took Van Dijk from Liverpool and put him in Man City win the league this year, I think. I do think the gap would shorten dramatically because Liverpool will lose a lot of points. City would gain a lot of points. I do wonder if it would swing it into City's favour. But that's how... Well, I don't know. We'll get onto that question in a second. But yeah, so good season overall for Man City, but not quite good enough. Players, Who's your most underrated Man City player? I think I know who you're going to say. I've got a feeling I know who you're going to pick out. Let me write him down before you
Okay,
say him.
okay. Because I'm not sure who I'm going to pick out.
Let me see if I got a blank page. Here we go.
Um,
Yeah. I don't
it's
know either, to be honest with you.
it's really hot when we get down to
Actually, I know who I'm going to pick.
when we get down to teams lower down in the table. The underrated player is going to be easier because it's like when we did the Liverpool. I'm really struggling to find a single player who is underrated. Obviously, he's left now. But so previously you might be looking at a Fabian Delph or someone like that, a James
Okay,
Milner
okay, for the
who's
top
gone to Liverpool.
clubs, underappreciated then.
I'll tell you
Underappreciated.
exactly who it is Leroy Sane.
Way, Sane. I knew you were going to say Sane. I knew you were going to say him.
What I know he's obviously been injured this season. What a player! That to think that they were even considering selling him back to buy. Well, not back to Bayern Munich. I think he came from Schalke, but selling him to Bayern Munich is absolutely ridiculous. I am adamant, and people might think, "Well, what's he saying?" I think Sane's better than Sterling. I think Sane is a magnificent player.
They're different.
Sane is exactly the player that I like to see. Very fast, very athletic, very direct. He will cross the ball early if he can, and if he gets the opportunity, if he sees the goal, he will shoot from 30 yards. I love that type of player. That's the type of player that gets me off my seat, and I think he's good enough to play in any team. I really mean it. It's obviously the league has been denied him this season because of that injury. Will he come back the same player? In all honesty, I don't know what the injury is, so I'm guessing it must be a knee thing because he would be not much else keeps you out all season, is there, apart from knee? But wonderful, Gio, absolutely wonderful player.
We never done a question for Liverpool, but I might add it from now on. The player most disappointed in because I've thought of one for Man City, so I want to add in a little bit. But I think Sterling's better than Sané, which is only going to back up your argument that he's underappreciated, I guess, because I think Sterling's a lot better than him. I think Sané's faster, more direct, harder to defend against one on one, perhaps. But I think Sterling's movement is just ridiculous. The amount of times I watch him move and almost sacrifice himself so someone else can move into that position is just incredible. The player I think is underappreciated at Man City, believe it or not, is Kyle Walker. I don't think he gets nearly enough plaudits. I think he's just an incredible right back. Pep does this funny thing. I still don't necessarily agree with it or completely understand it. He gets his fullbacks to play centre midfield a little bit. When City go forward, a fullback comes into the centre midfield position, and it's usually Walker. But I've noticed when Walker doesn't play, Zinchenko has to do it. And Zinchenko can't do it like Kyle Walker can. Kyle Walker's fast, which helps, but Zinchenko's not slow. But Kyle Walker's just smart. He gets it. He knows what he's doing. I think he's fantastic at defending. I think he's incredible going forward. I think he's possibly one of the best right backs in world football. The fact is, Cancelo can't get in the team ahead of Kyle Walker. Says how good Kyle Walker is. Cancelo obviously fancied coming over and taking Walker's spot. He wouldn't have come over, but Walker's held on to it. I think he's just a brilliant, brilliant player. But yeah, but that's right back going into centre midfield thing. I was speaking to a Man City fan about it, and he was saying it's because when teams then counter attack, they have to go out wide because they've bulked up. City have bulked up the middle of the park a little bit. You've got to go wide, and then that's where they'll foul you. But I don't know. I think every time I see City go forward, though, I think, well, you need Walker to come down the side. You need Walker to come down and let Mahrez go into the middle, but he can't because he's standing in the middle of the pitch. But anyway, I'm going off a tangent here, but just a funny thing. Kyle Walker for me. Player of the season thus far. There's only one answer here. One answer.
Oh, De Bruyne.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, do you know what's funny? What a player. What a fantastic player. You'd love to be that player, wouldn't you? To be that talented and to be that bright. The vision, just the things he sees. Not just the things he sees. I think he sees runs that players make, but he thinks of other ways to find them than a conventional player would. and he's got the ability to curl a pass. If there's two defenders there, he's got the ability to manipulate that pass and curl it. You know, he almost shapes some of his passes like a drawn or a faded golf shot. Yeah, well, hopefully not boomerang, but it rebound back straight to him. But he's great. You know, he's a crazy talented player, and it's quite funny actually because sometimes his passing is so good. He's one of those players that can pass the ball into the back of the net from long range.
Yeah.
And I'll give you two examples, not on the same level as him. The first one was Jamie Redknapp. Jamie Redknapp was a hell of a long passer. Jamie Redknapp was, well, funny enough, when Harry went and played over in America, he played with Bobby Moore. They were in the same team. So Jamie's formative years, I think he just grew up with one of these wonderful footballers. And Jamie's favourite player was Glenn Hoddle. So it was no surprise that Redknapp could just pass the ball, bang, over long, 25, 30-yard passes. And sometimes he would get near goal, and he wasn't the most prolific of goal scorers because he wouldn't go as far in advance as his cousin Frank. But just sometimes he just passed the ball into the back of the net from 25 yards, bang, just pass it in. Beckham was the same as well. Obviously he spent a lot of his time wide, but sometimes when he came into the middle, you would just see him. He would use the same technique that he would use to cross and almost cross the ball into the back of the net. And I find De Bruyne like that. He uses the same technique that he uses to pass to put the ball in the net. And not many people do that. A lot of people think they've got to give it the laces, or they almost have a shooting technique. I love seeing players that use their passing technique to put the ball in the back of the net. Really good player. Lovely player to watch.
Yeah, he's my favourite player to watch in the world. He's just incredible. Just when you watch him get the ball, you think, go on then, do something. Or when you actually, the best thing is when you see a player make a run and he gets the ball, you just know what's going to happen. You know he's going to find him. And earlier you were talking about how he could do that. I actually thought you were going to say something. Well, it made me think of something. Sometimes I think a player makes a run. I think De Bruyne had given the ball, and it turns out to be a run the player never actually meant to make. I think the player just thought, I'm just going to run into the middle here, but the ball arrives at his feet, and it makes it look like the player's made a really good run. He hasn't really. I think he's just ran, and De Bruyne has picked him out. So it makes it look like everything was intentional from the start to the finish. He's the best player of the Premier League by an absolute country mile, in my opinion. He's just the talent. Unbelievable. There's nothing the guy can't do as well. And the thing is, though, he even works hard defensively as well and stuff. You watch him, you think, have you got anything you cannot or you won't do? Because he's just got everything in his locker. But superb player, one of the Premier League's all-time greats. Disappointing player of the season for City. I'm adding this in from now on because there's someone I want to pick out. There's one player I want to pick on.
Okay, I'm tempted to say Gabriel Jesus, which I'm not. See, I've done it again. I've said the Jesus. I should be Gabriel Jesus, right? But I think he's more been disappointing overall since he's gone there. I thought he was going to achieve more. You look at him when he plays for Brazil. There's more player there than Man City are getting. Really, I think he shrinks under the shadow of Aguero at the club. I think Bernardo Silva has not been as good.
Yeah, that's my one.
As last season. But I'm not gonna. So obviously I think that anyway. 'Cause he was brilliant last season. I think the eternal disappointment seems to be John Stones because he just had so much talent and he looks awful now. He's gone. I didn't bat an eyelid when John Stones went for 50 million quid to Man City from Everton. I didn't think, whoa, hold on a second, he's only worth 10 million. Why are they doing that? I thought, no, here's a culture player, brings it up in the back. I actually thought he's going to really suit Guardiola's system. And he actually does look like a 10, 15 million pound centre back now, I think that's a disappointment. He does. I think that's a disappointment. Also, I think you don't get into the England team now. I think he's gone backwards. So I think that's disappointing.
Bernardo Silva, for me, I thought he was class at the end of last season. I was really excited to see him this year. We did a prediction video for another channel at the start of the season. We got asked who do you think will be the player of the season out of the whole league, and I picked Bernardo Silva. I generally thought he was that good, and there's not many players can look world class in two positions. And I thought last season, Bernardo Silva, right wing, centre mid, I thought he looked world class in both. I thought, wow, that you're a proper good player when you can look that good in two different positions. Mo Salah, I think, is world class, but I think he's world class in one position. I don't think he'd be effective anywhere else on the pitch other than where he plays. And there's that, we'll call it right wing, inside forward, whatever. Right wing, anywhere else, he's not a world class player. But Bernardo Silva, last season, I thought he was that, and this season, it's part of the reason they're not winning the league. I think he's just not lived up to it. I'm disappointed by him, actually. Now this is a bit. I think this is even worse. This was an awkward question for Liverpool. It's even worse for the Man City team. Player you would sign. The rule is it's got to be realistic. So you're at home shouting Aguero, you can't have him. It's got to be realistic. And there's not many. You could probably count them on one hand here. I mean, who is there?
Okay.
Is there anyone?
Well, John Stones. Yeah. John Stones and Otamendi. There's not like you may in another year's time get David Silva for the last year of his career or something like that. You may get a Zabaleta. What?
He's going in the summer.
Is he? Where's he going?
Yeah, David Silva. I don't know if he's going anywhere, but he's leaving City this summer. This is what City fans are upset about. The season's null and void. They don't see David Silva again.
Oh right, I didn't know that. Yeah, so that was going to be the thing. I think you might have get a Zabaleta thing going on where he finishes his career. This is why it feeds into what I said earlier. I think they've got the best squad in world football.
Yeah.
Where they don't have anyone we can realistically get.
I've got one.
Go on.
Angelino.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. But
he's on loan at Leipzig at the minute.
Yeah, but they're all crap in that position. That's.
He failed to impress me at the start of the season. But
they signed him back, didn't they? They sold him, then they bought him back, and now they've loaned him out.
Now he's out of Leipzig, but he's played well at Leipzig. But he's playing in like a left wing back role there. Leipzig play three at the back, so he's not got as much defensive responsibility to do. Whenever I've seen him at City, he just couldn't hit a cross for some reason. But I watched him for Leipzig, and he's good at crossing all of a sudden. So yeah, he's someone to gamble on. Could we get Foden or a player similar on loan? Probably not. Why would they give us a player like that on loan? But yeah, there's no one that you can really have, unfortunately. What position do they need to strengthen the most? It's got to be centre back for me.
100%.
It's got to be
100%. It's the only position. It's clear as day. We mentioned Liverpool. We talked about two or three different positions. Yeah, it's centre half, and well, you mentioned it earlier. You said if they had Van Dijk, they were they would have won the title or bridge the gap. Sorry, you said they would have closed the gap, of course. Simple as that, mate.
Yeah, I completely agree. Chuck a bit of cash at that, and you'll be. That's the only thing missing from having a world class team. I think they've got. I think the squad's world class, but I do think they're just missing something there. I do think Laporte is a big miss for him, but I think he's more than good enough to play every week for Man City. But they need a partner for him anyway. Even if he was fit, I don't think they have a partner to play alongside him. And they've had some right disasters there. They have chucked money at that position every year. Mangala, remember him?
Yeah, a big money, 30 million quid.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had Company, which had been a huge success, but he's been injured for quite a while before he left anyway.
Well, and he wasn't signed. Mark Hughes signed him under thanks in Giannacho before they had all the big money. So
Otamendi's been okay. I think he was good when he first arrived. I think City have stepped up a level, and I don't think he's that good. Stones has been a bit iffy. So yeah, chuck some money at that. So last question on the Man City review. Rating out of 10. I think we both gave Liverpool a 9 to put into context.
Okay, well, you say the word context, good word, because you've got to put it into context as Man City, so it's a 7. By their lofty standards, to be 20 points off the lead in the Premier League, bearing in mind they've, as we mentioned, they cherry-picked 3 of other teams' best players to add to a team that was already swashbuckling. But it's on hold, that 7, because their season is not over. Liverpool's, that was a solid number. That stays where it was because they're already out of Europe and they've won the league. Yeah, forget all the other nonsense, but they've won the league. With City's, it's a 7, but let's be fair, it could go up to a 9 if they won the Champions League in brilliant fashion. It's a 9. It's an absolute triumph. But yeah, 7 as it stands, mate.
I agree with your additional bit there. If they win the Champions League, it's a 9 for me as well. But I'm going to give them a 6. I think it's been poor. They've been out of the title race since before Christmas. It's not even close. At least last year, Liverpool took them to right up to the death, and they lost it by a point. You know, City's been nowhere near Liverpool. It's been really, really poor. City's got to, like I said, context. City have to be winning the title, not just challenging for it. They've got to be. If they don't win it, it's a disappointment. It really is as simple as that for me. Anyway, anything you'd like to add about City?
No, I don't think so, mate. I think it's gone. We've got many teams to go throughout the season.
17. We're not doing West Ham. Are we doing West Ham? We could do West Ham.
Yeah, it'd be a bit odd, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we could do the underrated and the player of the season and the what player could you sign would be a bit interesting, but
absolutely. Yeah,
we could do with that. We could do with a Declan Rice to play along with Declan Rice.
I'm a subject.
Yeah, that's a good one. No, mine's Declan Rice to play alongside Declan Rice. Yeah, that would be good. I'd like 2 Declan Rices, please. But yeah, so 17 teams to go. Down. You're enjoying this? Please drop a like on it. If you're new to the channel, subscribe if you're new around here and that. And we'll have more teams coming up next week as well. Some West Ham content for you as well to keep you entertained during this uncertain